Hey guys, so today what I want to talk about is Venezuela again. But today what I'm going to be discussing is the fake news about media in the alternative media, like YouTubers, okay? And today I'm going to be speaking about Rudkowski from We Are Change. I want to try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I've done a lot of research and it doesn't look like I'm going to give him that much, but I'm going to try, because I know people get, oh, why do people have to argue in the truth community, whatever? Because when other people are not discussing the truth and they're pushing the same narrative as the mainstream media, why should they get a break? Because in this case specifically, it really looks like he is definitely working for someone. I don't know who. I mean, I think I know. But it doesn't matter. You know, big channels like that, we come to YouTube to not get mainstream media news, to get the truth. And whenever you're spinning the truth and having these people on to make it look like it is valid, and you're saying the same exact thing as the mainstream media, but yet giving no proof, you're just talking to some guy. It makes people wonder what your agenda is, especially when you're jet setting around the country. He bragged today on Twitter, I'll show it right here, about, he said, oh, my passport is so beat up, I don't know if that I should take, you know, right here. And I found that kind of, I don't know, condescending to some people, because he still has his blue check mark. If you haven't realized, most people that speak the truth in the truth community, we don't have blue checks next to our name on Twitter. We are very censored because they don't want us to speak out. And so when somebody is essentially being pushed forward and flown around the country, yeah, he has like 530 Patreons, and he has a bunch of donations. I've watched his live streams where he gets thousands of dollars in donations in a stream. But he's flying all over the country. I mean, the world, all the time. So let's just check it out. One more thing. This is what I really believe is going on. The mainstream media lost its grip on the narrative. And we all know that that's their deal, is to push a certain narrative. And in order to keep that stranglehold on the narrative was to employ YouTubers and people in the alternative media, people that, you know, you would look to like, oh, they're going to tell me the truth because they're not mainstream media. And I'm not going to sit here and name all of them because there's a bunch. But essentially what you're doing is watching mainstream media. And that's what they wanted, because they realized their ratings are in the toilet. Okay? So they had to do something. And hey, I understand this is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I would love to be able to go to different countries and be able to show you what's going on there, but I do what I can with what I have. But I understand that, yes, it is very hard. And I guess it's easy for some people to just sell out. I guess it just is. I don't know. Maybe if somebody offered me a few $1 million, maybe I would spin a story the same way. No. I mean, no. Because that's not what I do this for. At all. If I wanted to just do fun videos and get paid off to do it, I would find some sponsor to do something else. But when you're in a movement of what's going on in the world of fake news, and you're trying to combat that, and you're essentially doing the same thing they are, while working on your patriot's dime, or, I mean, because I think he's being paid from the back, but also getting donations. Or I have seen some other stuff that it's pretty sketchy, but I'm not going to just throw him completely under the bus right now. But I just want people to be aware of the truth of what's going on, especially about geopolitical stuff, because we don't get to always see it. And whenever, let's just roll what he's got to say. And
probability, the chances, and the bigger geopolitical news behind what people are talking about, Brazil and Colombia possibly invading Venezuela. And to talk about that, plus a lot more, we have David Unsworth. He's an editor of the Pan Am Post. He's been living in Colombia for 8 years, and he's the perfect guest to talk about this, because this is what you've been studying and looking into and researching ever since you've been here for the Pan Am Post. All right, Post? Yes,
Yes.
the Pan Am Post.
Pan Am Post.
So I was wondering, obviously here in Colombia, you have more of a right-wing government. You have a wild card kind of new president in Brazil. We even had Donald Trump previously say before that he thought about invading Venezuela. What do you think are the political chances here and ramifications behind all of this?
We have a situation where it's presenting the greatest humanitarian crisis to the region in generations. We have an estimated 1.5 million Venezuelans in Colombia, 500,000 in Studies have shown that Venezuela is probably going to shed 10% of its population, and that's just up till now. Venezuela is about 30 million people.
Well, that's funny. So he's saying 10%. 10% of 30 million would be 3 million. Well, if we look right here, we're going to see that 5 million people in just recent history came from Colombia to Venezuela, which Venezuela helped them get their jobs, get all of this support and everything. So, again, I've said this in another video. Are they really refugees fleeing Venezuela? Are they just going back home? Okay.
It's creating a major headache for the entire region. Venezuelans, if you're lucky, you're probably trying to go to Miami or Madrid. Everyone else is leaving by land south to Brazil or west to Colombia. The major wildcard you were just mentioning was this weekend, by a very large margin, the Brazilian people elected Jair Bolsonaro. He's a former military paratrooper.
Don't be confused. Bolsonaro wants essentially what we would call here martial law. He has spoken about it many times. I'll show you right here what I'm talking about. It's from the 70s, 80s, how they kind of ran things back in the day. He loves that.
There are three options for Maduro. There is exile, there is arrest, or there is a fight to the death.
Did he seriously just say that? What? A fight to the death? Exile? Think about if another country was to say that about our president, no matter who the president is. Isn't that a little insane? It's a lot insane.
Really, it's just three hardcore Marxist regimes that are propping him up right now in this region, and that's Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua. As far as a military invasion, I'm not going to entirely rule that out. I don't think we've reached that point yet.
So only Peru and all of these countries are supporting Venezuela? Nope, that's not accurate at all. Turkey, Russia, China, they didn't want to turn to those people, but because of what we did to them, they had to turn to these other countries. Because of our sanctions, and I've shown y'all, if you haven't seen my other videos, go check them out. China, Russia, India, Iran, Spain, all of these countries are supporting Venezuela and not the U.S. sanctions that is absolutely killing this country. So it's not just Peru and Cuba. That's a blatant lie. That is just a blatant lie. What kind of help would Peru and Colombia be able to do for a country like Venezuela that is so rich in natural resources and has a history of never getting any government funding from the U.S., which Colombia does? So, Mr. Colombian Pan Am Post guy, what else? What's next? Let's check it out.
Because it's interesting, because if you are planning a military invasion, you really don't publicly announce it. And this news, yeah, that would be a terrible idea if you're going to do that. But this news is dominating the headlines here in Latin America because of an unnamed diplomat from Colombia that is saying that he's blowing the whistle that there is going to be a plan with Brazil and Colombia, of course, invading Venezuela. The Colombian president answered back today, just as of now, and he said, no, there's no talks of that. That's probably never going to happen. But if you look at the current situation in Venezuela, it definitely brings up a conundrum for many people because, at one hand, a lot of people are anti-interventionalist. At the other hand, when you look at Venezuela, you've been there, I've been there. Holy cow, it is an incredible human catastrophe.
A human catastrophe? Venezuela, a human catastrophe. Let's show some evidence and see if that's
a human disaster that is unfolding there. That is just horrible, horrible, horrible to see. So, as far as this moving forward, do you think these sanctions, which of course also have been hitting people, will be that effective, or do you think you really do need an invasion to change the situation in Venezuela?
A key part of the question is to what degree does Maduro have the support of the Venezuelan military, and to what degree does he have the support of the Venezuelan people? If you talk to Venezuelans or academics, most people are going to say, best case scenario, maybe 20% of Venezuelans support Maduro. That's being generous. It's probably somewhere closer to 10%. And those are the people that are in Chavism.
What? 10 or 20%? You know what this sounds like to me? This sounds like CNN when they talk about the supporters of whole narrative has been, and that's why they've tried to kill him and do all these other things. I mean, he's talking about these studies. Where are these studies? Because I haven't found them except for on American sites. They've done a good job at hiding these things. But what is this guy talking about? Look at America. Yes, it is split. There are people that don't like our president. There are people that don't like our government at all. Me and most of you. There are people that think somehow that Hillary Clinton's going to come in if, you know, Trump is impeached. I don't think that they're thinking that logically through, because I really think in their minds that that's what they think's going to happen. Anyway, that's how governments run. That's how countries run. It's a democracy. You have an election. There's one that wins, one that doesn't. And the people that are... So here's the thing about Venezuela. It's just like, I mean, it's essentially like America. There are people that would love to sit back and enjoy the dumbed down society of nonsense. Keep sending your kids to BS school. I mean, obviously we kind of have to do that, but to be dumbed down, don't look into any actual facts, and just keep going how it's going. And oh no, if something happens to my luxuries or whatnot, it's a catastrophe. There's other people, on the other hand, that know what the outcome is going to be, and that is a new world order. And that's what these people are fighting against.
I completely and wholly support getting Maduro out of power right now. Another thing that I really wanted to bring up is the confiscating Venezuela's oil. Venezuela has stopped making payments on its bonds, and that's a huge issue.
Well, we have U.S. and British seizing assets from Venezuela without any kind of trials or anything, just seizing billions of dollars of assets.
Being propped up right now by Russia and China, which is extending them credit for future oil payments. The biggest problem with the Venezuelan oil industry is that Chavez and Maduro replaced competent people with loyal people. It didn't matter anymore if you were good at your job, whether that was management, engineering.
Well, I guess if you consider very corrupt someone that you want to have there, well, maybe. But no, they're just very upset that they got caught and they're being arrested. Top officials, Citgo, Exxon, Chevron.
So the country is going to collapse and Maduro is going to leave. When and how, that is very difficult to say.
It's extremely difficult because even being in Venezuela, Caracas myself, you see the resiliency of the people who are able to get through almost
He just, whoa, let's play that back.
Being in Venezuela, Caracas myself, you see the resiliency of the people who are able to get through almost every obstacle put in their way and somehow still...
What did you say, Luke? What was that? They're very resilient people, and it's hard. They've pretty much gone through everything, and they still come back. Why is that, Luke? You think they have a magic wand? Or is it because they're working for their country and they want their country? And they're not just going to lay back and say, just like Maduro says here, we're not going to bow to the empire of the U.S. or whatever. When he says that, you know, everybody kind of looks at America like we're the ones that run everything, when we know here in America that we don't.
Extremely persistent people, but they're also all over Colombia. The dentist that I went to, there's a bunch of Venezuelans working there. You walk around the street, especially here on Sunday, they shut down the streets and have people walking around and biking around everywhere. There's always a bunch of people with Venezuelan flags, either singing, and a lot of them are not very satisfied. Even when I was in Venezuela, they were not happy with the government, and what do you expect? You have Maduro eating empanadas during his state television announcement. You have Maduro...
Really? That's the story I was talking about. The empanadas. And are you kidding me, Luke? Are you kidding me? That's like Luke saying, hey, I'm making money, but if any of my people that are watching are hungry tonight, oh well, I'm gonna still eat. Like, that makes no sense. I don't know if it made sense of what I just said, but it makes no sense. You're saying that a president should no longer eat? You sound like CNN. You sound like a leftist CNN trying to make something out of absolutely nothing.
Happening because I would say U.S. aid, the CIA, and also the sanctions, I don't think they're that good for the country of Venezuela. I don't think they're making any progress here. And again, if you disagree with me, let me know. But to me, a lot of people are suffering, and to me, sanctions haven't worked on so many different countries before. What is your assessment on kind of the sanctions and the options that people have to trying to see a change in Venezuela?
Well, as much as I'd like to believe in the electoral process in Venezuela, there's very good evidence that elections are a sham. Chavez did win 3 elections, possibly a 4th in Venezuela. The last election he won and both of Maduro's elections are completely and certainly electoral frauds. Chavismo has been completely discredited in the eyes of the Venezuelan people. As far as what they can do, there is not much. There is violent and brutal repression on the part of state security forces. There are Cuban intelligence and military advisors that are basically propping up the Venezuelan government and telling them what to do and how to keep a iron grip on everything and not let things spin out of control. The most important thing that the Venezuelan people can do is tell people why socialism doesn't work. It has never worked in Venezuela. It has never worked anywhere it's been tried. Basically, if you're 18...
That's what we were waiting for. That's socialism. That's what they're getting at. They're not socialists, first of all. And they are essentially rather socialist, but it's national socialism. It's different than this boogeyman socialism that we have all become so scared of. But that's what they want you. They want you to fear that. They see this. They're freaking out, y'all. Literally, they're freaking out. Oh my gosh, if the Americans found out that we've been lying to them and this is actually working, holy crap, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to start, like, oh my gosh, we're not going to give corporate welfare subsidies to Walmart and Amazon and Boeing and all of these billionaires. Holy crap, we can't let them find out about this. Let's try to do some damage control. Luke, go out to Colombia, go to Venezuela. You've got to cover this story. And I honestly think that Luke might know the truth and he's accidentally slipping it out. Like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, whatever. And, you know, we catch the mainstream media doing that often, too. But this is absolutely crazy. But it shows that I think they're really freaking out. They don't want us to find out that, wow, a country really can be successful without the United States' help or without, you know, all of these corporations getting so much money while the middle class is being completely screwed over every year, over and over. I don't care if there's a Democrat or a Republican in the House, in the Senate, in the presidency, over and over and over. Let's tell you a couple things that most people just don't realize, and I'm sure somebody on the left probably hasn't even made it this far into my video, but let me just kind of explain it. So, you know, President Bush signed into office all these 1%, I'll just call them 1% tax breaks to try to bring back companies, you know, whatever. And it worked a little bit. It didn't really. But then what happened when Obama got in? Did he cut those from the 1%? Like he said? Nope. He made them permanent. Because under Bush, they were just a temporary tax break. Obama made them permanent. Do y'all see that there is no left versus right? And I'm going to show you some other stuff in a different video about that, but oh my gosh.
18 to 35 and you're not married and don't have kids, you're probably leaving the country. That's the end case scenario. And I cannot overstate, we have 1.5 million Venezuelans in Colombia. It may even be 2 million. It's very hard to estimate, but this is a mass exodus of biblical proportions. And if we were to walk out on the streets of Bogota right now, everyone we see is Venezuelan. They're everywhere. If you go over to the
Venezuelans and Colombians have always been neighbors, and there's a bridge that they cross every single day, and they're there also because the Colombians decide to steal their products, their medicines. When they come into port, I'll calm down. When they come into port or whatever happens when they get on the trucks, the Colombians go in there, and I'm not just saying Colombians in general because it's people that are part of the resistance there too, you know, kind of like Antifa types, whatever. But mainly that's what's going on. They go in there, they either buy it all up or they steal it, depending on who it is. But they buy it all up at the low price. Then they go back to Colombia and sit outside and have these little shops or whatever and sell it for 10, 12, I don't know, times the actual amount. Look, here's a picture of one right here. It's like a flea market, you know, like, but it's completely unethical and terrible that they do this. I'm going to give you an example, and I've thought about doing this a few Christmases. You know, there's always that one Christmas gift that, you know, everybody's going to want it. The Tickle Me Elmo back years ago, the Hatchable was last year or a couple years back. I forget. But they sell out, but your kid wants it, and people go crazy, and they're selling them on eBay for $1,000 when they were like 50, things like that. That's what this is. That's what they're doing. They go and buy it up and know that you need toilet paper. They know that you need medicine. And so they go back over to Colombia, and then they want you to come in. I'm not going to get into the money exchange and why they do it, because I've done that in other videos. But that is the perfect analogy, because that's what they're doing. I've thought about, because that Hatchimal, I saw when they first came out at Walmart, and they were like $44. I was like, oh my gosh, I should buy some of these. And then I'm just like, I can't do that to people. Because I knew, and then I saw, you know, not long after that, people were on eBay, you know, once they sold out, and people couldn't get them before Christmas, they were selling them for like $250, $1,000. People were selling for like crazy. But they do that every Christmas. You know, there's always that Christmas gift that's going to happen. But that's what they do over there, and it's terrible. But this mass exodus that this man speaks of, I think the mass exodus was his brain matter out of his ear or somewhere. I don't know.
So you can't even get around. You can't go to school. You can't go to work. Buses aren't even running in the country anymore. There are no more intra-city buses, buses carrying passengers from one place to another.
There's no more buses running, y'all. There's nothing running. The whole country is shut down. Really? Luke, if you're watching, really? I just wanted to get the truth out there, and I also want to show y'all an amazing video from a young girl that I'm going to put in a separate video again so it doesn't make it as long, because this video is going to show, and from the man that from Venezuela, that he made one just for Florida. If y'all watch Florida Mikey, he made one for Florida, because I'm not as important as Florida. Back in the day, we both had the same amount of subscribers, but then all of a sudden he went from like 10,000 to 60,000. He's a lot better than me, but it's okay. He deserves it. He does a lot of hard work. I did interview him back in the day. Haven't talked to him in a while, but anyway, he does a lot of hard work, and he definitely deserves it. And if you're not subscribed to Florida Monkey, I know a lot of people aren't because of his view on politics. Guys, y'all need to get over that. He's very conservative. Well, I don't understand why people are, it's like, oh, I can't be sub to this person because of this, even though they're giving me amazing information. There's not many YouTubers anymore that's actually telling the truth. Somebody asked me the other day, they sent me a message and was like, what about this person? What about this? I'm like, nope, nope, nope. It's really sad. Mainstream media lost their grip. Anyway, so that's what I have to say. Y'all have a great day. Anyway, sorry it went so long, but this information is very important. They are right in our backyard. If you're in Florida, I mean, essentially, it's like you can take a boat to Venezuela. It's a beautiful country. I would love to go out there and interview people. I would absolutely love that. And I would show y'all the truth, the actual, what's really going on the ground in Venezuela. Yes, there's hardships. Go downtown LA. Let's show you some pictures of LA. This is LA. This is Detroit. Chicago. Miami. New Orleans. Any town, USA. So, where really is the crisis? How can we continue to give money, especially $10 million a day, to the likes of Israel while they're killing the Palestinians daily, just like they did 2 days ago? More, that's a whole nother video. But yet we're going to call this a humanitarian crisis. I think the United States has a humanitarian crisis because the people in power, whatever power, have lost their sense of ethics, morals, values, and they don't have spines to stand up for what's right. Yeah, they might get killed over it, but if enough of them do it, just like I tell y'all, there's way more of us than there are of them. But It's your choice. If you're either going to sit down, watch this happen, or if you're going to say enough is enough and let me look at reality and stop waiting for this superhero government agency agent to pop up out of nowhere and start arresting. What if even if they did, what would that do to what's going on right now? Nothing. We still have 7 wars going on. I mean, all these countries, we're in all these countries. Bring our soldiers back. This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna go off on a tangent, although I kind of did. But anyway, like, share, subscribe, and I will be back to discuss the other things that I wanted to discuss, because there's so many things. But I see a lot of people are talking about the same issues over and over. I don't know what's on my shirt. Anyway, the same things that everybody else is talking about when this is going on in our backyard. And we are part of the problem. Not we, as in me and you, but yeah, we need to stand up and say these sanctions are not okay. This is not okay at all. This is not who Americans are.